As the planet warms, activists are getting more desperate, and as they become more desperate, their tactics go from being cute and enticing to being downright crazy. The more recent trend of climate protesters trying to destroy art in all of its forms has become pervasive, especially in Europe.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
In the last several years, many different videos have chronicled people gluing themselves to paintings, pouring dye into reflecting pools, and storming stages, all in the name of saving the planet. From jaw-dropping stunts to outlandish antics, join us as we take you through 15 craziest actions by climate protesters. Number 15. Nevada Showdown: Rangers versus Road-Blocking Protesters. Number 15 on this list takes us to the heart of Nevada, where passionate climate activists have decided to make their voices heard in a rather unconventional way. They gathered on a road, determined to disrupt a significant event known as the Burning Man Arts and Music Festival. It seemed like they had the upper hand, successfully blocking off the road and maintaining control for what felt like hours. But as fate would have it, their jubilation was short-lived. A group of Nevada Rangers stormed onto the scene with unyielding determination and wasted no time forcefully ramming through the barricades set up by the protesters. The clash of ideals and authority happened right in front of spectators as people had gathered to watch. As for the demonstrators, it's clear that they had hoped to delay the participants of the festival, drawing attention to their climate-related concerns. However, their well-intentioned plans were thwarted by the swift and decisive actions of law enforcement.
Did anyone get that?
Yeah.
You better move. You're gonna go back. They're chained.
Get out now! Get out! On the ground! All of you on the ground now! Get on the ground! Get on the ground! Don't move!
This clash of principles and the struggle for control of the road served as a vivid example of the ongoing tension between climate activists and authorities that day. It's a reminder that no matter how passionate that these activists are about their cause, the battle to make their points known is often fraught with challenges, and in this case, it ended with the arrest of protesters. Number 14. Climate activists take over San Francisco street party. This demonstration would be staged in the vibrant city of San Francisco just before the Earth Day annual event, and it was quite an energetic affair. As the protesters gathered on the streets of San Francisco, it became more than just a protest. It turned into a lively street performance. Their colorful placards boldly declared "Climate Justice Forever," and it was clear that these demonstrators were determined to make a statement that would resonate with onlookers. What was truly striking about the protest was the unwavering commitment of the participants. They chanted slogans like "No drilling where we're living," emphasizing their concerns about environmental issues, and it seemed as though nothing could deter their resolve, not even opposition or counter efforts. In the midst of the hustle and bustle of San Francisco, these climate activists managed to capture the attention of bystanders and passers-by. In every step and chant, you could feel the determination and passion for their cause. As is made obvious in the clip,
There's a peaceful movement in this town, rise up! Get down! There's a peaceful movement in this town, rise
For these passionate climate protesters, the fight for climate justice is a continuous and passionate endeavor, and they're willing to take to the streets to make their voices heard. Number 13. Fighting for climate justice in Munich. Now we'll delve into the world of climate protests in Munich, Germany. These determined activists were not backing down when it came to the German government's climate policies, and what began as a single climate protester's arrest and imprisonment soon transformed into a dual protest. It became a powerful call to raise awareness and rally for the release of the incarcerated climate activist. The atmosphere was charged with energy, drawing a massive crowd of like-minded individuals. Despite the fervor of the demonstrators, the watchful eyes of the police were not far away. They were present, possibly to maintain order and to limit any potential excesses. However, their presence did not deter the protesters from passionately voicing their concerns. At a certain point during the intense gathering, the situation would escalate, leading to the police having to fire tear gas. It would be a moment of tension that highlighted the clash between the activists' determination and the authorities' efforts to control the situation. The fight for climate justice can spark passionate protesting, even in places far from the front lines of climate change, and to the rest of the world, it can sometimes be a little crazy. Number 12. Thousands of protesters flood Bristol City. This protest took place in Bristol City in November of 2021, where thousands of passionate climate activists had flooded the streets, creating a captivating scene. The sheer number of protesters alone was a story worth telling, and as they began their protest, it started peacefully, with the demonstrators marching through the city streets, driven by their determination to make their voices heard. However, as the crowd grew and the protest continued, it inevitably drew the attention of security operatives. The presence of such a large gathering had raised concerns about community safety, prompting security personnel to monitor the situation closely. It was a clear illustration of the impact climate protesters were making in Great Britain, where their passionate activism was taking center stage. Love them or hate them, climate change activists take no prisoners in their activism. It's no wonder why they always create a scene wherever they go. Number 11. Donald Trump versus climate change. This scene takes place on a lovely September day right outside of the hotel of former United States President Donald J. Trump. Climate activists had taken to the streets, and as usual, their protest was anything but ordinary. These protesters were on a mission demanding that policymakers take swift action to combat climate change and protect the planet's future. Their voices were raised not only against climate change but also against the president, accusing him of contributing to the environmental destruction through some of his policies and actions.
Keep coming back to hold him and the lobbyists that he is selling off our future, our communities, and our planet to hold them accountable. We will not stand for the destruction of the climate chaos. We have 11 years to take action. We need to hold the Trump administration and all of his cronies accountable. And the first step that needs to happen is he needs to be impeached for his constant behavior.
However, what began as a serious demonstration would soon take an unexpected turn. The protesters had transformed the scene into something quite extraordinary. Amidst their calls for change, they added a touch of spontaneity by engaging in lively activities like twerking and dancing. It was a unique blending of activism and celebration, showcasing their determination to make their message heard in a creative and attention-grabbing way. This protest outside of the President's Hotel became a reminder that climate activism can take many forms, from solemn calls for change to moments of unscripted exuberance. Number 10. Climate change protesters tackle Wells Fargo Bank. It was a rather unconventional scene in late September of 2019 at the Wells Fargo Bank in Washington, D.C., when climate activists gathered to express their dissatisfaction with the bank's role in climate-related issues. These protesters, passionate about saving the planet from ongoing destruction caused largely by human action, had a clear message. They believed Wells Fargo was contributing to this destruction and remained indifferent to their calls for change. Their chants of shame echoed through the streets, directed at the bank, and what made the protest unique was the protesters' desire for collaboration. They weren't just there to condemn the bank, they were seeking a partnership, a way to amplify their message. They wanted Wells Fargo, a prominent financial institution, to join them in their mission to combat climate change and raise awareness about its devastating consequences. This unusual gathering highlighted the diverse ways in which climate activists had chosen to make their voices heard, even by reaching out to unexpected allies in the fight for a sustainable future. At least they didn't burn anything down that time. Number 9. Climate activists bring DC's traffic to standstill. Now, as we've seen in a number of clips, climate protesters in the United States are known for their determination. On this day, this particular climate change advocacy group decided to make their voices heard right in the heart of Washington, D.C. They had brought the city's traffic to a standstill by staging their protest right in the middle of 14th Street and New York Avenue. As they occupied this major intersection, their chants of "No justice, no peace" had echoed through the air.
No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace! No justice! No peace!
Motorists were stuck in the traffic jam, but they had no choice but to patiently wait, hoping that the protesters would soon disperse. It was a chaotic scene, and one that highlighted the intensity of the demonstrators' commitment to their cause. The actions that climate change activists are ready to take to draw attention to the urgent need for climate justice are a lot wilder than we mere mortals could imagine. They'll go to crazy lengths, even if it means disrupting daily life in major cities. Number 8. Climate change activists take over Milan, Italy. The fashionable city of Milan, Italy, is not spared by climate change activists. The city had bore witness to a massive gathering of protesters who came together to make a powerful statement about the climate change crisis. The sheer size of the crowd was nothing short of astonishing. It was evident that law enforcement was quite cautious, not wanting to risk any harm amidst such a massive assembly. The authorities seemed to recognize the importance of allowing this peaceful demonstration to continue, and protesters had arranged themselves in a striking formation, forming a large circle with a prominent symbol of the Earth at its center. This visual representation had made their message crystal clear. They were advocating for the protection of our planet and sending a strong signal to those in positions of authority. Sometimes you have to wonder if these protesters will ever leave room for careful reflection on the ongoing fight for climate justice. Maybe there could be other ways to protest, but I guess we may never know. Number 7. Saving the world all the way from Seoul. In September of 2019, the call to #SaveTheWorld had echoed loudly through the streets of Seoul, South Korea. What had made this protest particularly striking was the sheer number of participants that included students of all ages, from young teenagers to children. Their determination knew no bounds, and as they flooded the streets, they not only voiced their concerns, but also created significant traffic disruption. Their message would be clear, boldly displayed on numerous placards. The presence of children and teenagers, alongside older activists, had underscored the fact that when it comes to addressing climate change, age is no barrier. This event in Seoul served as a reminder that the fight for our planet's future is a collective effort that transcends generations. It became a powerful demonstration of unity between numerous groups of climate change activists. Their mission would be to send a stark reminder of the urgent need for climate action, and Seoul had heard their message loud and clear. To be honest, it wasn't like they even had a choice. It was too loud to be missed. Number 6. Climate Strike Showdown in Aversa, Italy. In Aversa, Italy, a climate protest, aptly named the Climate Strike, lived up to its title. This gathering would be a powerful and spirited display of activism, as thousands of dedicated protesters converged on the streets. Their mission would be clear: to bring together an impressive assembly of around 20,000 participants, all driven by the shared goal of raising awareness and making their voices heard on climate issues. While their intentions were noble, it's likely that the local residents had felt some disruption to their daily routines as the passionate protesters gathered to amplify their message. This protest was a formidable force, impossible to ignore. The protesters, despite their dense numbers, had remained steadfast in their commitment, and they chanted slogans, proudly displaying their placards and other symbols. They left a long-lasting impression on Aversa and a reminder that the fight for climate justice knows no boundaries. Number 5. The last revolution frustrates the people of Paris. In the bustling city of Paris, France, commuters on their way to work had found themselves frustrated by a group of determined climate activists known as Last Renovation. These activists were not willing to yield in their quest to draw attention to the urgent issues of climate change. Their method of protest would be unconventional, as they took over a major road that runs through Paris. Without the usual placards and banners, they simply sat peacefully in the middle of the road, their innocence belying their determination to convey a message. However, the presence did not set well with some drivers who honked their horns in frustration, urging the protesters to move. When the activists had remained resolute, a group of irate vehicle owners decided to physically remove them from the road, displaying their anger and impatience.
Putain! J'ai des gosses à à côté, bordel de merde! C'est quoi le courir, moi? Allez-y! Premier qui bouge l'encul! Premier qui bouge l'encul! Vas-y, vas-y, vas-y! Premier qui bouge l'encul! Premier qui bouge l'encul, je prends pas les couilles! Hé! Le premier qui vient, je m'en tire!
Tu fais des ridicules.
Allez, c'est bon!
Dans ce pays, ça fait bien. Connard, qu'est-ce qu'il fait comme ça se fait un job, toi aussi? Fais chier! Tous les jours, vous nous faites chier! On travaille, nous aussi! On a des familles!
Allez, madame, allez,
On a aussi ce travail, c'est de l'agriculture!
allez, laissez passer!
Je suis agriculteur!
Laissez passer là, madame! Il y en a un qui bouge l'encul! Il y en a un qui bouge l'encul!
While some protesters were dragged away like rag dolls, a portion of the road remained blocked as a defiant group of activists refused to be moved, lying flat on the ground. This protest would be a vivid illustration of the clash between those who are advocating for climate action and those who just wanted to go on about their daily lives, highlighting the complexity of the issue. Even though most people truly believe the planet needs to be saved, they still have to go to work. Number 4. Protesters turn vandals in Scotland. In recent times, a concerning trend has emerged amongst climate protesters, where some have taken to targeting art and various forms of expression, particularly in Europe. In Scotland, this trend takes a particularly intense turn as climate protesters stage a demonstration that escalates into an aggressive act of vandalism against an office building. The protesters seem to act hastily, almost as if their frustration and anger had boiled over. They vandalized the exterior of the office building, painting it red to make a statement. And after carrying out this bold action, they chose to sit in anticipation, awaiting a response from either law enforcement or the office that they had just targeted, and not caring about the consequences that would incur on them. The siren of a police car is heard nearby, and they obviously were notified by the owners of the office about the ongoing disruption by the protesters who were at the verge of vandalizing their properties outside. This is the sort of behavior that has gotten people talking. Even though it does get them the publicity that they sorely want, there are doubts as to whether it is the correct form. Would actions like these win them more allies or turn the world against them? Again, they don't seem to care. As long as they get the publicity, they're cool with it. The incident serves as a stark reminder that while climate protesting aims to draw attention to important issues, the methods that are employed can vary widely, and some protesters may resort to drastic actions in order to make their voices heard. It becomes a complex dynamic that underscores the passion and urgency of the climate movement, but also raises questions about the line between peaceful protest and vandalism. Number 3. Dancing to save the Earth. Climate activists have become rather infamous for their unnatural approach to making an impact and spreading their message, often going to the craziest of lengths to do so. In this video clip, we see a group of dancers passionately performing a song from the cast of Demi Lovato's Frozen in a language different from the original. However, the performance takes an unexpected turn when two young climate activists burst onto the scene from the background without any official permission. Their intent appears to be disrupting the dance performance. The male carries a cloth banner, while the young female symbolically sprays earth dust to represent their cause, which is a symbol for Save the Earth. Sadly, though, for the troublemakers, their plan is stopped pretty quickly. The person with the camera quickly steps in and stops the young man who was causing all the problems. At the same time, security showed up to deal with the situation, and in the end, both activists are removed from the scene. This incident highlights the determination of climate activists to seize any opportunity to raise awareness about their cause, even if it means interrupting an unrelated event. It also underscores the challenges that the public faces in navigating the boundaries between peaceful protest and disruption of public and even private activities. Number 2. Scaling new heights. Climate protesters conquer the Kelpies. Two climate change protesters from the group This Is Rigged did the unthinkable. They had undertook a daring and dangerous mission to draw attention to their cause. Two activists took their commitment to a whole new height, quite literally, by climbing a towering 100-foot structure known as the Kelpies. This remarkable structure, designed by Andy Scott and erected in 2013, is an iconic symbol of Scotland. Their mission was clear: to protest against the Scottish fossil fuel industry and make a bold statement. Climbing the towering iron statue was an extraordinary act of protest, and from their elevated position, they unfurled a banner bearing the words, "This is rigged." It signified their message to the world, and going by their daredevil-like behavior, the protesters were clearly men who could not be defied by anything, having gone to that length to pass their message across. This act of protest was undoubtedly an extreme and risky endeavor by the climate activists, highlighting their unwavering dedication to shutting down the fossil fuel industry in Scotland. It serves as a reminder of the lengths that some individuals are willing to go to, all in order to bring attention to the pressing issue of climate change. Number 1. The Art of Protest. Painting versus climate activists. In a bold and unconventional protest, two climate activists sporting t-shirts emblazoned with the words "Just Stop Oil" had hatched a plan to draw attention to their cause within the confines of an art museum. They had disguised themselves as regular museum goers, cleverly concealing their branded t-shirts with cloaks as they entered the museum. Once inside, they made a dramatic statement by targeting one of the famous Van Gogh paintings. They took out canned soups and threw them at the painting, a weird but symbolic gesture meant to challenge the prioritization of art over urgent environmental issues.
Security.
Worried that they might swiftly be removed before conveying their message, they resorted to a drastic measure, gluing their hands to the museum wall. It was probably the craziest climate change protest ever, but it was also dumb. I mean, why glue your hands to the museum wall? In whose interest does that work for? The protest also posed a thought-provoking question: is art more valuable than life itself, particularly when it comes to addressing critical matters like climate change? This protest was a striking example of how climate activists can use unconventional methods to demand attention for their cause, even within the hallowed halls of art institutions. And in a way, their protest did work. The events of that day would eventually lead to the eventual restoration of the sunflower painting, but it also resulted in the prompt arrest of the two activists. So was it really worth it? Well, for most people, probably not, but for the climate protesters, you can almost tell that they would be back again, causing more problems on the streets as soon as possible. In their fight for more action and awareness on climate change, they do have an enviable repertoire of actions to choose from. Disruptive protests like this one here is just one of them. They seem to depend on the power and instant circulation of the internet and social media to promote their agenda. Does it work? We may not be able to tell for sure, but many successful movements have been built in this way, which includes the Black Lives Matter movement and the Me Too movement. The climate change advocacy movements may decide to use that as an inspiration to persist with their advocacy and disruptive protesting, and that just makes more worries for the rest of us. And there you have it, a whirlwind tour of the zaniest, wildest, and craziest actions by climate protesters. I hope you've enjoyed this roller coaster of climate activism, where the unexpected has become the norm. And if you couldn't help but be entertained by these outrageous displays of passion and commitment, you shouldn't forget to hit that like button and share this video with your friends. Make sure to hit thumbs up and also subscribe to this channel so that you can get more videos like this one in the future. Thanks for watching, and I'll see you next time.